Hello everyone and welcome back to this channel. Today we are diving into the world of Debian 12, the latest edition of this powerful Linux distribution which released around 6 months ago. Whether you are a seasoned Linux user looking for more control on your Debian installations or a new user eager to learn Linux, especially Debian edition, you are in the right place. Expert mode installation allows you to fine-tune every aspect of your Debian installation, making it the perfect choice for those who want to customize and tailor the Linux experience for any type of workloads from application servers to database servers, etc. So keep watching if you like to know more about Debian installation options, especially its expert mode. For this purpose, I am using VMware Workstation to create a new virtual machine to start installation process. I press create a new virtual machine. I press custom. I have downloaded ISO file of Debian and you should do so. Debian 12.4 edition for 64-bit systems. I press next here. My system will be Linux and I am using Debian 10 because my workstation doesn't support Debian 12 yet. It's okay, no problem. I press next again. I name my VM bookworm, which is the name of this version of Debian. I press next again and the location of my VM will be this. You can change it if you want. I press next. I press two number of processor with two core per processor. Totally I will have four processor here. I press next again. I give 4 GB of memory to my VM, but two is enough if you want. I press next again. For networking, I am using bridge networking because I have the DHCP server here. I want this VM to obtain IP address from this machine, from this DHCP server, but you can choose any other options. I press next again. For controller type, I am using LSI logic as it is recommended. I press next. And for virtual disk type, SCSI, again it is recommended here. I press next. And create a new virtual disk with 20 GB of size. It is okay for me. And name of the VMDK will be bookworm. I press next again. And it is finished. So I power on the VM. It boot from my ISO file. We have some options here: graphical install, install advanced options, accessible dark contrast installer menu, help, and install with speech synthesis. I'm going to use expert installs. Expert install is behind advanced options, so I press enter on advanced options. We have some other options here: graphical expert install, graphical rescue mode, and other options. I'm going to use expert install here. I press enter. So here in this screen, we should go one by one. All of them, I press choose language. I press English here, and I press United States. And local will be United States too. I don't want to install another local. I press continue. I press configure the keyboard. I'm using American English keyboard. Detect admin installation media. I press enter again. My media was successfully detected and it is Debian 12.4 bookworm edition. I press continue. Load installer component from installation media. I press enter. And it says that installation components has been loaded successfully. If you want another options, you can select. I don't want anyone. I press continue. Detect network hardware. I press enter again. Network hardware has been detected. I'm going to use configure the network option. Auto configuring networking. Yes, if you want to manually configure, you can press no and give IP address and other things manually. I go back and select auto configure networking. It takes some time to complete it to obtain the DHCP server and other configuration from my DHCP server. Host name again will be bookworm. I press enter. Domain name will be local. Set up users and password. I press enter here. allow root login. If you want to disallow root login in the future, you can select no, I'm going to use root and I will disable it later. So I press yes here. I give root password here. In this step, you can create some normal user for yourself. I don't want to do it now and I can do it again later. So I press no. Configuring the CLAC here. I press enter. NTP server is a server that you are going to use it for syncing your time with that. So I press yes, and the default has been selected for me. If you have any time server in your local network, you can use it. So I use this option and select continue. And my time zone will be UTC. Detect disks. My disk has been detected. I'm going to use partitioning disk to partition the disk. As you see, we have four options here: guided guided entire disk and setup LVM, guided entire disk and setup encrypted LVM, and manual. Guided are some options that give you some less control than manual installation. I'm going to use manual option. We have one disk here. As you saw, we give it in the installation of the virtual machine. I press enter. We don't have any partition table on this disk, so we should create one, and I press yes here, and I will create a MS-DOS partition on this disk. We have free space here. From this free space, I will get 1 GB of file system for /boot file system, and the other will be a physical volume joining to a volume group for operating system. Create a new partition again. I give 1 GB of size here. Primary location for the new partition will be beginning of the disk. Mount point will be /boot, and label will be boot again. Mount options you can select. If you know this option, no dev, no set UID, no exec, you can select them, but I don't want to use them. So I press done. /boot partition has been created as a static partition, and we will define another file system, for example, /home, /temp, /var as a logical volume. So here I press enter again. We create a new partition here. We give total size of the disk to this partition. Again, I am going to use it as a primary disk. Use it as a physical volume for LVM. I press enter here and select down setting. So we have physical volume here defined. So we are going to use it as a physical volume for volume group and configuring logical volume manager. I press enter here again. Write changes to disk and configure LVM. I again select yes here. So we have one physical volume and it is not used. So we should create logical volume. We name it OSVG. If you want, you can use another name. I press enter. I select STA2, 20 GB of disk as the physical volume to using this volume group. Again, I press continue. So we press display configuration details. You see we have OSVG and STA2 is joined to this volume group. And in this step, we can create our logical volume. So I press create logical volume. I select OSVG here. We create LV underline root for root file system. We give 2 GB of size here. Again, create logical volume. LV underline TMP for temp file system. Again, 2 GB of size I give to it. Again, create logical volume for home. 2 GB of size. Create logical volume. LV underline user. 2 GB of size. Create logical volume. LV underline var. 2 GB of size. And LV for swap. Again, I give 2 GB of size, and you can change them, expand them if you want in the future. So again, I press display configuration details to see what we have. We have a volume group, OSVG, and STA2 is a physical volume. been installed on this VG, and we have 6 logical volume defined. I press continue. I press finish here. So we have some logical volumes here, but the mount point is not defined for them. So for all of them, we should create some mount point. Use as ext4 file system, and mount point will be /home, and label will be home. I press done setting, lv root, label it as root, and done setting, swap. Here we should use swap area, and done setting, temp as a ext4 file system. Mount point will be /temp, and label temp again. User, mount point will be /user, and var. ext4 file system, and label will be var, and done setting. This is a very standard partitioning scheme. If you want, you can have another file system. If you come here, you can see we have /opt file system or /user local file system. If you want, you can define some other file system here. But in this step, I don't need any one of them, and I press done setting and finish partitioning and write changes to disks. We haven't used any mount option for /var, so we go back and check it again. lv underline var, lv underline var, lv underline user. Here it is. Mount option should be /var, and label is defined. So I press down setting again, finish partitioning, and it is going to write a change to disk. I press yes here. Install the base system. So partitioning has been finished, and we move to next step, install the base system. It takes some time to complete. After this installation, you will have a server suitable for many different workloads, as I said in the beginning of the video, and it is some standard installation of Debian. There are some kernels to install. I am going to use image 64-bit. We have two types of initRD here, generic and targeted. As it says, its message says generic include all available drivers, and your initRD size will be somehow large, and targeted only drivers needed for this system. Because I am going to use this virtual machine on this system, I am going to use targeted. But if you want to take this backup, this image of the machine to another hardware or another virtual machine system, you can use generic. So I press targeted. Configuring the package manager, I press enter here. My media has been scanning in this step. It says that if you have another media, you can scan it here. I don't have any other extra media, so I press no here. In this step, you can configure network mirrors to obtain softwares or updates for your system. Because it takes some time to configure network mirror, I don't want to use it now, so I press no. Here you have some options: security updates and release updates and backported software. Which one update you want to use? I am going to use security updates and release updates, and backported software means that software that was released for older version of Debian can be installed here or not. So I press continue in this step. Select and install software. I select it. It says that if you want to automatic update or no automatic update, because I want to have control for my updates, I press no automatic updates here. It is completely configurable when your operating systems come up. Package server gives some reports to developers that which applications you are using more on your system, so they can work more on these packages. I don't want to participate in the package server, so I press no here. You have some options. If you want to have a desktop environment, you can select these options, or any mate or the LXT. All of them are GUI interfaces for this Debian. I'm just installing SSH server and start on system utilities, so I press continue. If you want to have more robust Linux server, I recommend to use minimal number of packages on your installation because it's very good for your system, for file system, disk space usage, for attack interface of the applications that you are going to install on your system. Keep it minimal. Install the grub bootloader. I press enter. OS Provider is a utility that can run on your system to detect if you have any other operating system, for example, Microsoft Windows on this machine, on this disk, I mean, because I don't have any other operating system on this disk, so I press no here. If you have another operating system, for example, you are installing this Debian on your PC, you should run it and configure it. I press no. Install grub bootloader on your primary device. I press yes here, and my primary device is SDA. Finish the installation. Our installation is finished now, and the system will be restarted. The system clock is set to UTC. I press yes here, and this step installation has been completed successfully, and we should reboot the server to see what is going on. I press Debian here. So I log in as root. I give the password. My IP address will be 81.38. As root SSH login is disabled by default, I will enable it. I will use a session manager to connect to this system. SSH root @ press accept and save, and give the root password here, and we are up. Our Debian 12 edition comes up successfully. We have volume group OSVG with 7 GB of free space, and our logical volumes and file systems as below. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Debian 12 installation. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to this channel for more system administration tips, Linux tutorials, and tech insights. If you have any questions, comments, or specific topics you would like me to cover in the future, please let me know in the comments below. Your feedback is very, very valuable for me. Until the next video, happy administering, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.